What up? So I had to ask myself, if today had been my last day, would I have built the life, you know, I kept saying that I wanted? I think reasons like this are why this channel now exists. Let me introduce myself real quick. My name's Calvin. I am nobody special regarding this. I am, I guess you could say I'm an 80s baby. I'm a Gen Xer, you know, so I've got a love and a nostalgia for pretty much the 80s and 90s, the toys, the cartoons, the TV shows, things like that. um Along the way, like anybody else, I had passions, I had imagination, I had dreams, goals, like a lot of us, right? We want to be doctors and lawyers and basketball players and actors and entertainers and singers. But like anything, life kind of grows you up, and it puts a lot of those imaginative passions off to the side, especially as we age. And I feel like the more we age, the more that stuff gets pushed to the side. It's kind of crazy. And like I said, I graduated high school in the 90s. I immediately joined the military. I served my country for 10 years, got discharged, bounced around from career to career, job to job. I wouldn't necessarily say career, I'd say more or less job to job. Uh, yeah, man. Like I said, life has a habit of growing you up faster than you need to be grown, and it pushes a lot of those dreams and passions to the side. For years, I thought I was working hard, man. I think like many of us, paying bills, taking care of a family. While I was in the service, I got married. I had two kids. After I got out, I had one more. So life, life was life was definitely life, and life was definitely kicking my ass. I think like a lot of us. Like I said, just working hard, paying bills. I bounced around from job to job, places like well, I guess that's really not important where, but let's just say the majority of my time was spent in retail and sales. And I'm gonna tell you that is a career field that you really have to become something different if you're trying to, make it out here. You really gotta want more than I guess that you dream. So it is what it is with that. At the end of the day, man, I realized I was just surviving. When I lay all this stuff out on paper and I get to thinking about it, all I'm doing is surviving, and all I've done is survive. I wasn't building anything spectacular or anything special. I was just trying to make it. Make sure my kids get off to school okay and make sure they're taken care of. Make sure my then wife at the time knew she had a good man she could depend on. Just little things like that. And at the same time, doing what I'm supposed to do, trying to make it, trying to want better for my family. But I guess in the beginning, you really don't know what that means. I think we all seek something to hope that would outlive us. I was always told that you should either plant a tree or write a book or become famous in some form of fashion. I was never one to try and plant a tree. I don't have a green thumb at all. And I think at a young age, we all had like big dreams and imaginative goals to be famous. We wanted to, like I said, we wanted to be a superhero, or we wanted to be an entertainer, or we wanted to be an athlete, or we wanted to be a big movie star. Just something along those lines that kind of, put us in that into that stratosphere, at least mentally anyway, you know. And I'm gonna tell you, up until the past few years, like I said, I really thought I was cooking, as everybody likes to say now. Boy, little did I know. And I'm gonna tell you, July 6th, 2026, literally changed everything for me in terms of perspective. Um, so July 6th, I'd say at about 10 p.m. 10 p.m. I was getting ready to lay down for bed. My wife and I'm married second time now. It's my new wife. My wife and I, we were getting ready to go to bed so we could start our typical work day the next day. I laid down. I started having some chest pains. Now let me back up a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks prior, my youngest son graduated high school. You know, kudos to him. I got 3 grown kids now. For them to go out into the adult world and make a mess of it. Let me stop. Um, right after that, right after he graduated, I had an upper respiratory infection. So I got sick, obviously. So that comes with coughing and messes with the sinuses and the ears and all the whole nine. And I coughed and coughed and coughed for a couple of weeks. And I'm gonna tell you, it was not fun. Once I came out of it, I got the infection out of the way. The coughing just hurt. Of course, you got the sore lungs, the ripped cartilage, the damaged cartilage, what have you. So I thought that's what that was. It was only when I laid down. Um, Let me wedge something in the middle of that there. So the day before, July 5th, Sunday morning, my wife and we got up, we got dressed, went to the gym, and I usually try to start off with the exercise bike just for a quick warm up. And I noticed I was really having shortness of breath. But in terms of the shortness of breath, in addition to that, I was having the chest pains. The chest pains started. Felt like somebody was just running a rod right through, the center of my chest. So I stopped pedaling for a second. I was like, let me just chill. Picked it up again, this time a little slower. I felt it. It wasn't as bad. So it'll probably dissipate as I get into it. So I revved it up a little bit more. Nah, same thing. So I just stopped. I was like, all right, let me just chill. I'm not ready to get back on the exercise wagon yet. So we'll try again tomorrow, being that following day. So long story short, laid down for bed that night. And as soon as I laid down, the chest pain started again. This time they were getting worse. And it started to radiate to my back. And like any of us, I began to self diagnose. Grabbed the cell phone, jumped on Google, like, look, let me find out what's going on here. And I did say that I was, coming out of the upper respiratory infection. And lo and behold, man, I said probably just suffering a little pain, a little discomfort. Take you some Tylenol, take you a little cough medicine. And that's what I did. So that was 11:30, almost midnight. So I got the pain to subside for a little bit, long enough for me to sleep. Laid down. It started back up, but the medicine had kicked in and I was able to kind of sleep it off. Then at about 3:30, my alarm went off. 3:30 is when I get up to try and go to the gym in the morning. Keyword try. Try. And um, that's when things kind of started taking a turn for the worse, man. I woke up to the chest pains again. And this time they were not excruciating, but it was very uncomfortable. It did manage to get worse. I used the restroom. And by the time I got done using the restroom, it felt like somebody had literally just tried to sit on my chest or stand on it or whatever. And it's someone, and at the same time, somebody was taking a hot rod or a metal straw and just searing it into my chest and then pouring something on top of it that was twice as hot. And then it started to radiate in my back again, same spot as my chest. And then it radiated to my right arm, all the way down to my hand. Um, and then it went up to my ear and my jaw. I'm thinking, man, what is going on? It wasn't dawning on me that I was having a heart attack. It didn't register because, you don't think of it. You don't think of it. And for somebody like me who's just used to going about life, just going about his business, if I'm hurt, I'm hurt. I can deal with it. I was just dealing with it. Little did I know, I was little by little shutting down. So I was gonna try and go to the gym anyway. But then I said, you know what? Let me go to the ER and see if they can give me some antibiotics or something. I'll tell them I had the infection. Keep in mind, I'm having a heart attack as I'm thinking this. I'm thinking of the ER and antibiotics, and I'm having a damn heart attack. So I told my wife, I said, well, I woke my wife up and she said, babe, look, I'm going to go to the gym after work instead of getting up with you. I said, that's cool. I think I'm going to go to the ER. And I didn't say anything else after that. You know, there's the pride in me wanting to, you know, not wanting her to worry when I should have said something. And she said, okay, just keep me posted. I said, okay. I managed to drive myself to my veterans clinic, and I got there, I got checked in. They saw me right away, told them I was having chest pains, trouble breathing. They took me in like that, got the necessary things taken care of, had the EKG machine, and they hooked me up to it. They got the IVs going, they drew blood, took my temperature, the whole shebang. Started giving me meds to kind of go easy on the pain a little bit. Um, yeah, little by little, I didn't know what was going on. The anxiety meter slowly started to rise, and it's like, what's next? So let me fast forward to, you know, all the testing, all the evaluations. Made a couple of phone calls. I called my wife, told her, hey, look, don't worry about it. They just running some tests on me right now. They don't know what's going on. A little after 7 a.m., 8 a.m., something like that, I called my mom, let her know what was going on. Told her I would keep her posted. Because, first of all, I wanted all the details of what was going on before they told me what the deal was. Cardiology team came in, got to talking to me, got to evaluating, talked amongst themselves. They did chest x-rays, they did a second EKG, they took more blood, and they said, look, we need to get you moved and probably in the surgery here in the next hour or so. You're suffering a heart attack. And that's when I was, by this time I'm feeling, I don't want to say, I wasn't lethargic at all. I was really calm about it, but inside I'm just like, what the hell, I'm I'm the type of person that tries to do everything the right way. And now this, so much goes through your mind when you experience something like that. And I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't easy, man. It wasn't easy at all. So they made the necessary arrangements, prep transportation, got an ambulance to come to the VA clinic in Wilmington, Delaware, and they basically transported me to the VA clinic in Philadelphia. where I got there. I don't know. I want to say 10:30, 10:45, something like that. Immediately prepped me for what's called a cardiac catheterization. I'm gonna tell you, it was pretty wild. I got there, had to get into the hospital gown, had my ass out, all of that. They did allow me to wear boxer briefs, thank goodness, right? Um, yeah, man, they got me prepped for, surgery or whatever, got me prepped for the procedure, gave me a local sedation. I wanted to sleep, but they didn't want me to sleep, because they may have had questions. Uh, and I don't know if anyone's ever had a catheterization. Normally they go in through the groin area. They did not do that with me. They managed to go in through my right wrist. You can see where the puncture is. You see where the puncture is right there. They went in through my right wrist and up my arm, and they placed a stent in my artery, which was clotted and narrowed. Now, luckily, it was just that one, and that's what they were saying as they were looking at my heart on the big screen, which I kind of got a glimpse of it. It's kind of cool, man. You don't. It was cool and scary to think that if that stops, I stop. If that doesn't work, I don't work. Like just the emotional impact that something like that can have on you when you see it in person is it's wild. It's so wild. So yeah, the stent's done, procedure's done. I'm stable. They got me in recovery. Long story short, they kept me overnight, evaluated me. Lots of questions, lots of issues, lots of things to uncover and unpack. Um, like I said, once the doctors left the room, I was able to kind of try to get my wits back, so to speak. And I'm gonna tell you, man, the emotions that you go through with something like that, the thought process, the what if, you know. I mean, my youngest son just graduated high school, fucking 18. If I had waited any longer, that would have been my last lasting memory, potentially, you know. And I don't want to, not the type of person to speak shit like that into existence, but just it really it it really plays a role in your mind, that's what it could have been. That's what it could have ultimately been. Just being a newlywed, I would have only been with my wife 5 months. Been married to my second wife now 5 months, and I love this woman with all my heart. And I didn't tell her because I was too busy trying to be a man, too busy trying to let my ego overtake, my need for asking for help, something that I'm not used to doing ever. Basically, I was being selfish. I was being selfish. I'm not gonna let her worry about it because it ain't nothing until I got there and they determined that it was something. So, needless to say, things have to change, right? Um, my wife was more pissed than she was scared. Pissed because again, I didn't tell her when I should have. I should have said, "Babe, um, I'm not feeling right in the chest. My chest is really bothering me." Instead of saying, "I think I'm just gonna go to the ER." I made it sound like I'll go to the corner store. At the end of the day, we gotta stop letting ego drive be a driving force in our life. We gotta stop that. So here I am in a hospital bed, just a few hours later after this procedure, tubes running through me and the what do you call them? I guess the stickies all on me, getting the necessary vitals, evaluating me, keeping up with, the necessary stuff. Doctors coming in and out checking on me. You don't realize how emotionally draining that is, Like, yo, you coming back in here again? What do you want to tell me this time? You know, what you don't want them to do is tell you any bad news. Well, like, she basically, like, the doctor came and basically said, look, you had a heart attack. You were literally, you were literally having a heart attack. Your heart was beginning to, you know, shut down. And had I not gotten to the ER when I did to get checked in, probably would have been a lot worse. Probably would have, she said, if you had gotten here any later than what you did, if you had just waited it out or tried to go about your day, number one, we will probably be cracking you open. Number two, I didn't want to think about number two. So after laying in the hospital bed overnight, I got discharged the next day, basically. Got discharged the next day. I was able to walk out of there under my own power. But the experience has definitely changed my perspective. Obviously, things are going to change for the rest of my life. I'm going to be on things like blood thinners. I'm going to be taking aspirin, baby aspirin, the rest of my life, the rest of my damn life, you know, because I was merely existing in life, not trying to live it, merely, just going about my days. I don't think I mentioned to y'all, I'm only 48 years old. I got a birthday coming up July 31st. I'll be, 50 is right around the corner. And I've been existing all this time. Like I said, experience changes perspective. I'm a firm believer in experience being the best teacher. So I definitely want to make sure that I stop waiting around for things and I start to build, because now that I've experienced this, I've been informed that this could happen again if I don't take the necessary steps. And hell, even still, there are healthy people out there that this happens to. It could be the healthiest of the healthy and it still happens to them. You understand? Like I said, I'm ready to build now, man. I'm ready to live now. I'm ready to, you know, experience more in life. And I don't care what anybody says, you know, based on the path that I choose. I don't care. I don't care anymore, because this is what I want for me, and this is what I want for my legacy. And I want to show y'all where my wheelhouse is, where my passion lies. All right, here we go. Now, look, I know to some of y'all, they're just toys. All right, they're just toys. To me, they're more than that, way more than that. These are my memories. These are lessons. This is, inspiration for me. I've always been a fan of, you know, the stuff growing up. I want y'all to be able to see a lot of this stuff. These are pieces of my life, man. And like I said, it may not look like much to the average person, but it's everything to me. You understand? It's everything to me. And this is where I plan to build. This is what I plan to introduce. This is what I plan to showcase moving forward. So, I mean, I'm gonna tell you firsthand, guys. Like, I had to get inspired by a lot of these character like Snake Eyes. You know, he just he just gets shit done. He just gets shit done. He just gets shit done, guys. Like, I can't be any more expressive. You know, a guy like General Hawk, a guy like General Hawk, leading a leader of men. You know, resilient. A dude like Galvatron. A dude like Galvatron that can show you why, you know, unchecked power, you know, can make you unstable, especially when you somebody who's always starving for it. So yeah, a gang like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles teaches you about family. They teach me about family. Like I said, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm absolutely in this for the long haul, man. Like, I'm not going nowhere. So I have dubbed this the MoodyVerse. That's the name of my channel. That's the name of my channel. It's the MoodyVerse. So welcome. This is where it'll all be. The collectibles, the toys, the action figures, they're merely the language. My motto is every shelf tells a story. And the toy is merely the door. The real focus is going to come through the life lessons. The real focus is going to come through my reviews. The real focus is going to come through me doing vlogs and toy shows, things that I'm passionate about, things that I enjoy doing. You know, I got a show that's on TikTok called Lessons from Plastic. It basically, I use the toy to unlock the life lesson and kind of, weave it to the character. Like I said, man, every shelf tells a story. Every shelf tells a story. Y'all are going to see me around. Y'all are going to see me here doing what I love. And that's going to toy shows, doing vlogs, unboxings, mail calls, supply drops, the reviews. You're going to see lessons from plastic. Like, you're going to see why I'm ready to live now. You're going to see why I'm ready to do what I want to do now. You're going to see why I'm tired of waiting and I'm tired of being fearful. I'm just tired, man. I'm ready to do something different. I'm ready to stop existing and start living. I always tell my kids, y'all are getting older now, y'all are grown. Don't be so busy trying to make a living that you forget how to live. And I said that, and I need to start taking my own advice. I need to start heeding my own advice in that regard, you know? So, yeah, this is the MoodyVerse, man. Welcome to my channel. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys are drawn to it. I hope you guys are, finding it relatable as I showcase a show. I showcase a character for Lessons from Plastic as I stop at a toy show and become the big kid again, as I go about my daily life with my wife, my kids, if I can never run into them now since they're grown and gone. um, yeah, man, I'm ready to have a blast. I'm finally ready to live. I'm tired of existing and I want so much more out of life. I want to have fun doing it. I want to enjoy this. And I hope that it's a lot of y'all out there who want the same things. So if you see me on here, show love, man. Do what y'all do. Like I said, my name is Calvin, and I've just introduced you to the MoodyVerse. You'd be surprised how much something like a heart attack can really shake up your life. You know what I mean? Can really shake up your life. But for me, it's gonna shake it up for the better. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be as good as I need to be to, build the MoodyVerse and just go and enjoy my life, man. I cannot wait to take y'all on this journey moving forward. So, like I said, stay tuned, man. Stick around. Hey, every shelf tells a story, right? And the toy is merely just the door. Thank y'all.